Hello, Butler students. Welcome to the On-Campus Employment webinar hosted by the Career and Professional Success Office. This webinar is for students interested in finding out more about working on campus. My name is Alyssa Laskowski, and I'm the Student Employment Coordinator in the Career and Professional Success Office, and I will be walking and talking you through the webinar today. The CAPS office also partners with Butler's Human Resources Office, and both of our offices are available to help you when needed. To get started, I will go over our on-campus job website, which is full of helpful information for students interested in looking for on-campus jobs. And next, I will tackle the detailed hiring process and paperwork process for students who've never worked on campus before. And lastly, I will go over students' pay and student employees' timesheets. So let's get started with the number one resource, which is our website. So simply go to butler.edu/career and scroll down to view the right side menu and click on Applying for Campus Jobs. Again, our website should be the very first destination students should take a look at when interested in working on campus. This page is full of information, including helpful job search guides, facts and questions, information on how to use our campus job board called Handshake, as well as up-to-date paperwork, forms, and more. So most on-campus offices or departments will utilize Handshake, which again is Butler's job board for students, to post any of their open roles. So you can think of Handshake as a centralized location where we house existing on-campus opportunities as well as any future opportunities. However, there are some offices across campus who use other ways to let students know they are hiring, like flyers, emails, and oftentimes a lot of on-campus departments will post jobs on their own websites. So it's important to kind of utilize all the resources at your fingertips. So some great news. So students work in virtually almost every single department and office across campus. But some not so great news is that it can be extremely difficult to get an on-campus job as it tends to be very competitive. For example, many students tend to keep their jobs from year to year. Small office budgets can make it very difficult to hire any student employees. And additionally, student enrollment is increasing. So to utilize all the tools that I mentioned before, when it comes to using Handshake or some of the online tools, we do encourage and strongly suggest that students network directly with staff, faculty, as well as other students and classmates as ways to find employment that may not be posted online. And quickly, I wanted to note that working at the bookstore or in the dining services or Starbucks are technically not considered on-campus employment. And the reason is that all of the hiring for these areas is done through each corporation. So for example, the bookstore is actually Follett's Bookstore. If you work for dining services, you're hired by Bon Appetit. And if you work at Starbucks, you're hired through the Starbucks organization. And if you're at all interested in working in any of these areas or applying for jobs that may be available, you definitely want to make sure to check out any applications that are available online or just ask to speak to the store manager about any current job openings. So after searching and finding an on-campus job, there are some next steps that are required to officially get you hired within a specific office or department. And so what we've done, we've separated students into two types. The first we call new hires. So these are students who've never worked on campus before. So if you've never worked on campus before, you're required to complete new hire tax paperwork and submit ID documents that prove you're eligible to work. Everything then must be processed and submitted before you can actually start working your on-campus job. The second type is what we call existing hires. So these are students who have worked on campus before, and these students do not have to submit any paperwork or IDs. The student supervisor must complete any other additional next steps to get them hired. So on this slide here, I've just included the forms that are required for any new hire students. Again, it's the new hire paperwork packet. So this includes information about all the forms you would need to fill out, as well as the ID documents you would need to submit. Um, Additionally, supervisors are responsible for filling out page 2 of the I-9 form that's mentioned here. So you as students can actually skip this page. But again, new hire students are required to submit ID documents, and these ID documents, they must be original. So we cannot accept any copies or photocopies. And it's also very important that the IDs themselves must not be expired. The CAPS website that I mentioned earlier offers a really helpful cheat sheet guide on how to fill out all of these forms correctly. So I highly encourage students who are not sure how to complete the paperwork correctly, take a look at that guide for help. For students who do have to submit IDs, it's important to know what IDs are acceptable. So students can submit a passport, which essentially covers everything needed for the I-9 form specifically, or students must submit one photo ID document, for example, like a driver's license or a state ID, and one employment authorization document, which could be a social security card or a birth certificate. Again, any document that is submitted or brought to us, again, it must be the original document. So by law, we cannot accept any photocopies or photos of these documents. If you are an out-of-state student, your parents or guardians must securely mail you the required documents as well. So again, for these new hire students, once that paperwork is completed by both you and the supervisor, everything must be brought to the CAPS office for review. And something I do want to note, it's very important that you as a student cannot start working in your on-campus job until the paperwork is correctly completed. And this includes making sure we have those correct ID documents and all of that is turned in. We do want to let students know if you need any help or if you have any questions about completing the paperwork, that you can always come to the CAPS office for help or contact us directly, and you can bring those ID documents with you as well. So let's dive into payroll and paychecks. So students are paid hourly, and depending on the opportunity that you have on campus and the department you're working in, the work hours do vary. We do ask that students do not work more than 16 hours per week during the academic year. If you're not sure when you will be receiving your next paycheck, there is a bi-weekly payroll schedule that is available for students to view and download at any point in time. This payroll schedule is also available on our website, but if you go to the payroll department's website as well, they always have an updated list of the schedule, again, for students to take a look at anytime. If we have any students who are interested in direct deposit, they must fill out what's called a direct deposit form and bring that form specifically to the payroll office for processing. And again, the direct deposit form can be viewed and downloaded on our website. But I would say predominantly most students opt to just have the paper paychecks, which is completely fine. And student paychecks are then available for pickup bi-weekly, which is every other Friday, in the students' accounts office, which is located in Jordan Hall. So it's important that students know that checks are not mailed to them. They are required to physically pick them up, or again, if you signed up for a direct deposit, then once you do get paid, depending on the pay date, that check will then be obviously uploaded or downloaded into your bank account. So when it comes to pay, it's very important that students fill out and submit their timesheets, which is information regarding their weekly work hours, and it's through their mybutler.edu portal. And again, this timesheet must be submitted in order for students to get paid. Students will only have access to view their timesheet once their paperwork and IDs, again, are correctly submitted and their supervisor has submitted all of their job details to HR via our hiring system, which we call e-hire. So the student supervisor is then responsible for approving all of the submitted work hours included on that timesheet. So it's very important you as a student to make sure that you're talking to your supervisor directly about your timesheet access and how they prefer you to enter or submit your work hours. Some departments across campus do fill out these timesheets in different ways. Some supervisors fill it out for their students, where some don't. So again, it's very important that you're having these conversations directly with your supervisor so that you know what's expected of you when it comes to submitting your work hours to get paid. And And just some final tips and thoughts. Just always feel free to reach out to the CAPS office for help. We can help you with your on-campus job search. We can show you how to utilize Handshake. We can also, again, help you with your new hire paperwork and those ID documents if you're required to complete them. And we can also help you with your resume or cover letter. So even before you begin to apply for some on-campus positions, if you'd like one of our staff members to review your resume or cover letter, we can help you do that as well. Again, just make sure you're utilizing Handshake to search for any on-campus opportunities, but also keeping in mind that networking with faculty and staff and fellow classmates is a really great way to find out about any on-campus opportunities that might not be posted online. And make sure that you're consulting the CAPS on-campus employment website. Again, this website has the most up-to-date information, helpful job search guides, as well as the required paperwork that you may need. Final reminder, new hire students cannot start working until that paperwork is correctly completed. And again, this includes make sure your IDs are correct and that paperwork and IDs are then turned in. And we also encourage students to really stay in contact with your supervisor regarding your hourly pay rate, your scheduled work hours, timesheets, and just any other general questions you may have about working in your on-campus job. I want to thank you for listening in on today's webinar. Again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me directly, the CAPS office, or the HR office for any assistance. Thank you again. Have a wonderful day.